Most construction problems don't start during construction. They start before it even begins. And the reason is simple. Once construction starts, every decision becomes more expensive, every mistake becomes harder to fix, and every delay starts costing real money. Studies across residential construction consistently show that a large portion of cost overruns and defects are not caused by materials, but by planning gaps, unclear documentation, and poor coordination. So before a single wall goes up, there are 5 things that must be completely clear. Not assumed, not we'll figure it out later, clear. 1. Permits. You don't start building when you hire a contractor. You start building when your project is legally approved. Permits define what you're allowed to build, how it must be constructed, and when each phase can move forward. In most U.S. jurisdictions, construction is tied to mandatory inspections: foundation, framing, electrical, plumbing, insulation, and final approval. If any of these inspections fail, work stops. And here's where many projects go wrong. Permit approval is often treated as a formality, but in reality, it's one of the biggest sources of delay. Depending on the city, permits can take weeks to several months, and if drawings are incomplete or inconsistent, they get rejected, which resets the timeline. And delays don't just affect time. They affect labor scheduling, material pricing, and contractor availability. So permits are not paperwork. They are the gatekeeper of your entire timeline. 2. Drawings. Your drawings are not just ideas. They are instructions. Every dimension, connection, and system is defined there. In construction, there is a simple rule. What is not drawn will be decided on site, and decisions made on site are rarely optimized. They are made under pressure, based on time, convenience, and available labor. Research on construction defects shows that a significant portion of issues, especially in residential projects, come from unclear or incomplete drawings. Not because workers don't know what they're doing, but because they're forced to interpret. And interpretation leads to inconsistency. Even more critical, changes during construction are extremely expensive. Industry data shows that late-stage changes can cost 3 to 10 times more than making the same decision during design. Why? Because you're not just paying for new work. You're paying for demolition rework, delays, and coordination between trades. So finalized drawings don't just improve clarity, they protect your budget. 3. The contract. Most people treat the contract as a formality, but in reality, it's one of the most important documents in the entire project. Because construction is not just building, it's coordination between multiple parties. And the contract defines
It's coordination between multiple parties. And the contract defines what is included, what is excluded, who is responsible for what, and how problems are handled. Without that clarity, every issue becomes a negotiation. And negotiations, during construction, almost always lead to delays, dispute, and additional costs. For example, if something is not clearly included in the scope, it becomes a change order. And change orders are one of the main reasons projects go over budget. In many residential projects, change orders can increase total costs by 10% to 20% or more. Not because contractors are dishonest, but because the scope was never fully defined. A strong contract doesn't just protect you legally. It reduces uncertainty, and in construction, uncertainty is one of the biggest drivers of cost. 4. Timeline. Most construction timelines look clean and simple. Foundation in 2 weeks. Framing in 3. Finishes in a month. But that's not how construction actually works. Construction is a sequence of dependencies. Framing can't start until the foundation passes inspection. Electrical can't start until framing is complete. Insulation can't start until inspections are approved. And if one step is delayed, everything after it shifts. Data from residential construction projects shows that delays are not the exception. They're the norm. Common causes include weather conditions, inspection delays, material shortages, and scheduling conflicts between trades. Even a few days of delay per phase can compound into weeks or months by the end of the project. So a realistic timeline is not the fastest scenario. It's the most probable one. And understanding that difference helps you plan both time and budget more accurately. 5. Payment structure. This is where many projects quietly lose control. Payments in construction should follow progress, not promises. Typical construction contracts are structured around milestones: foundation completion, framing completion, rough systems installed, finishes completed. This ensures that money moves as the work progresses. But when payments get ahead of the work, you lose leverage. And leverage is critical because if problems arise, and they often do, your ability to resolve them depends on how much control you still have in the process. Paying too early increases risk. Paying based on verified progress keeps the system balanced. If these 5 things are clear, construction becomes a managed process. If they're not, it becomes a series of reactions. And reacting in construction is always more expensive than planning. Before you build, don't just focus on the design. Focus on the system behind it, because that system, permits, drawings, contracts, timeline, and payments, is what determines whether your project stays under control or slowly moves beyond it.
This is Builder Brief. We're building a space for serious, system-level conversations about housing, land, and construction beyond headlines and beyond politics. Our goal is simple: to understand how the built environment actually works and why it affects all of us. If you find this work valuable, consider subscribing and supporting the channel. It helps us continue producing independent, data-driven analysis like this.